Welcome back to The Extract. I'm Kyle Meyer, and next to me is the great Renée Ary. Now, I don't know if you guys know that she's great. This is a
lot of pressure. Saying.
But you're like a. How can? Okay, first of all, Duckhorn Vineyards, iconic, legendary, whatever. But you're a secret weapon, a little bit, huh? I mean, do you get out a lot? Are you like jazz hands and that kind of stuff? Are you pretty stealth mode? Are you an at-home, at the winery type winemaker?
I think, yeah, my team knows I am very hands-on. You know, I feel like with winemaking, it's like the culmination of all those little decisions and details along the way that make great wines. Right. And in order to do that and do it well, you need to be present.
The chef has to be in the kitchen.
The chef has to be in the kitchen, let me tell you. And sometimes with winemaking, there might be an hour to make a decision that if you're not present and tasting at that time, then you're kind of missing the boat. And so, yeah, I'm very much a hands-on, detail person. And I like being behind the scenes.
Yeah. And when I say rock star, because what you have here, okay, let's rewind a little bit. Okay, 2003, you went to Duckhorn, right?
Correct.
And you did everything, a little bit of everything.
I did.
Over a period of 10, 11 years. Okay, she did everything. I read the bio, I read everything. Oh my God. So 2014, they're like, boom, you're the winemaker. Were you stoked? Did you feel pressure? Iconic label. Okay, what you have to understand about Duckhorn is the house style.
Yep.
Right, which even like in the past year or two, we've had wines from the 80s. And the preservation of the house style, the custodian aspect of Duckhorn, right? So when you got the job, was it like,
yeah.
Or were you like, bring it on?
No, this is a great question. I was definitely ready to embrace I was bring it on.
Yeah.
But you know, one of the great things about Duckhorn is that we've had 4 winemakers at Duckhorn, and each one of the winemakers were previously assistant winemakers. And so, learning the house style and understanding the vineyards and, knowing all the sources and the nitty-gritty detail is important. And so that was huge. And yes, I came onto Duckhorn in 2003. I held, I think, 8 different positions. And so kind of worked my way into, that winemaking path. And so, I will tell you, when I moved into the head winemaking role, I was ready.
You were ready, yeah.
I was absolutely ready and super excited, and just an amazing brand, iconic brand, and Dan and Margaret, and just it was really it was awesome.
Right.
And so to take the reins at that time and then just see what we can do with it, right? And sure, there's a little bit of like putting your spin on it, but ultimately the classic Duckhorn style, that like food friendly kind of style is still there and consistent.
And that's the brilliance here, because Duckhorn's grown a little bit, right, in the last 20 years. The preservation of that house style while maintaining quality, that's an art.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I kind of serendipitously ended up in the wine industry. I got a chemistry and art degree. I had no idea I was going to end up in the wine industry. But when I found it, it was like, oh my God, this makes complete sense. I can use my the technical skills and the chemistry background and pair that with art and kind of put the two together and really just, it's just fun. It's there's a lot of logistics in winemaking. There's a lot of the technical aspect, but there's also that creative, artistic side that you have to kind of just let everything else go as well. And I think the key is knowing when to be technical and when to just use your intuition and let things guide you, right?
Yeah.
And so part of it is understanding that art a little bit. But yeah, it's been an incredible ride. Yeah, we've grown a good amount. I've 21 years at the company. I've seen a lot, but we've always done a great job of remaining true to who we are and our core values and just what we stand for. And it's my home away from home.
Let's talk about logistics and art.
Yeah.
With regards to blending.
Okay.
There's a lot of barrels in this cellar.
There's a lot of barrels in this cellar.
From every appellation. I would love, as a fly on the wall, I would love to be there when you're doing the Napa Valley Cabernet blend.
Yep.
Like, what does that entail?
Yeah, it's intense. So we barrel select in every single SKU that we do. So all the way down. Nothing doesn't get that level of attention. And, and with growth, obviously that becomes more and more difficult every year. But for me, it's super important to maintain, the spices in your spice rack, right?
Yeah.
Sure, it would be easier for me to blend up front and post-harvest, just put everything together and be like, I think this is gonna be the Napa blend. But you know what? I don't like doing that. I like letting things evolve and age on their own. So we keep everything separate in the cellar throughout fermentation and aging, and then we decide how best to put them together. So I think that alone allows me to have the ultimate blending flexibility. So then you're making your blend, and then you're doing the barrel selections from there.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, so it's layered, it's complex. I work with 24 different coopers. I probably have over 60 different barrel types in my program. And honestly, it's complex, but it's fun, and I love it. And it's what makes the difference in those details.
That's like the funnest in the world.
Sure. Yep. There's a little bit of that. My team every year looks at me like, it's getting crazier, Renee. I'm like, yep. But everybody looks at this. It's worth it. It's in the
You have like
end,
200 glasses in front of you.
Yep. It's intense. And again, it would be a lot easier to just make those blends early on. But I think in the end, we make a better wine waiting and letting things kind of evolve on their own.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
yep.
And you work with every appellation in the valley, right? Pretty much. Or?
Almost.
There?
There's a few that we don't work with, but yeah, we're pretty well diversified. I make, I'm trying to remember, we're about 30 SKUs now between whites and reds combined, and so, I have a Napa Valley tier, we have our Appellation Series tier, and then we have our estate vineyards, the single vineyards, and then our white wines. So yeah, there's quite a few different areas that we work with. And that diversity, I think, helps in some of those trickier vintages, right? Like having that little bit of diversity. When you're, just at one location in one vintage, and maybe that's an area that didn't do as well or just got a little bit cool or wet or whatever, having that diversity definitely helps. So, yeah.
It's funny, we were talking about the disparity in vintages nowadays, where we didn't, getting back to what you were talking in our earlier discussion, you're like, there was a normal. There was a normal.
There was a normal. Yeah, we kind of threw that out the window.
And now we don't have a normal, but it's the Napa Valley. It's known for normal.
Sure.
So
sure.
how much more difficult has it been maintaining your normal in the context of the last few vintages?
I think you need to be flexible. I think you need to be versatile and adjust to whatever the new normal is. I mean, in my head, I can think back to, 20 years ago when I started what the norm was for like when we typically start picking Sauv Blanc and Semillon and when the reds typically start rolling in. And in the last 5-7 years, that's fluctuated quite a bit. But the bottom line is you got to just embrace the challenge because Mother Nature, like she's not telling you the game ahead of time. You got to react on the fly, right?
Well, and you have to deliver the Duckhorn mojo.
Exactly. I got to make this wine, you
Right.
know. And sure, there's years where there's wines that we don't put out for reason they don't make the quality of the cut. But the bottom line is you have to adapt, right? I mean, you have to just kind of adapt to just that changing environment. So
Is it more difficult adapting to like a Duckhorn style, which is this kind of like, it's a real kind of classy, like elegant, super polished traditional Napa Valley style instead of like going for pudding or trying to make a wine that's, 12% alcohol, some of these trends nowadays.
Sure.
Is this style, do you think, easier or more difficult?
I personally, this is what I lean towards. This is my jam, and so for me, this is easy, right? It would be hard to. We don't chase trends. We never have at Duckhorn. We're definitely more traditional. We like that classic style, the little black dress that's gonna look great, from years and years to come, right? I mean, and I love that. I love that tradition. I love that style. But that's not to say that you don't need to tweak things and make some adjustments from vintage to vintage to achieve that, right? To continue that style, it becomes a little bit trickier. So, yeah.
And still, the Icon Vineyards are here. We were talking Three Palms, and this is a wine that. Let's see, what did we drink from his cellar? It was like an 86 or 87 Three Palms we drank last year, or whatever.
Very nice.
The wine was beautiful. Like just spot on. We probably already know. You're probably tired of drinking it, but we had a great one. And even with phylloxera, even with all the changes, and some of these terroirs still carry through. And to me, like sometimes I see especially Valley Floor terroir. Sometimes the whole terroir thing might be a bit overstated in the context of the Valley Floor to me. Like the mountains, like you were talking earlier, Howell Mountain, boom. Spring Mountain, boom. Diamond Mountain, boom. Right? But the Valley Floor. Let's talk just a quick minute on Three Palms.
Yep.
Just what makes that special? Because Three Palms, you get this feeling, well, it's just part of the Valley Floor, and it's this and that, but there are these little curveballs that the Valley Floor throws at you, and I think Three Palms is one of them.
Absolutely. Napa is such a unique growing region. It's one of the smallest in the world, right? 30 miles long and only a few miles wide, but yet we have half of the world's soil series and all these like cool little microclimates that allow you to grow different varietals, make different styles, and do it really well. I love that you could be standing, on the edge of one vineyard and, walk 40 feet over to the left and you're in a totally different soil profile. I think that diversity is really what makes Napa special. Three Palms is definitely one of those special vineyards. So it's the first wine that we ever put out in 1978. It's been with us since the beginning. And when Dan and Margaret Duckhorn laid their eyes on this vineyard, they knew there was something special there. And working with so many different vineyards and blocks throughout Napa, I see a lot of different ranches, and I've yet to find one that really mirrors Three Palms and its uniqueness. And the magic is really in the soil out there. So there's Dutch Henry Canyon is situated just across the street from Three Palms, and it forms a Selby Creek, which kind of wraps around the backside of Three Palms. That creek, I've never seen water in it. It's always been dry, even in like heavy water years. But that cobblestone and all that rock kind of just bleeds out into the vineyard and forms the subsurface of that ranch. And so there's very little topsoil out there. The vines are 22 to 29 years old. They're very consistent. There's great vine age. The roots have to go down deep to find water. And so you drives just beautiful concentration. There's a lot of structure that comes from the soil profile, and that translates directly into the wine to just a really beautiful, ageable wine. But it's a warm AVA. It's Calistoga, the southern kind of edge of Calistoga, and so you get a lot of heat out there, which drives a lot of like really pretty fruit. And so you're still getting that like really nice kind of California fruit profile, but with the structure, and there's just like this earthy minerality that comes through Three Palms. It's almost got a little bit of a rustic old world edge, which I really like. So I have yet to encounter anything like Three Palms. It's a good one. And it's the first red fruit that hits our winery every year.
Yeah, that's what you said. That's amazing to me, yeah.
Which is really neat. So, typically we're picking our Three Palms Merlot, and it takes quite a few weeks to get through the ranch, but it starts kind of around Labor Day. And, in a year that's cool and a little bit wet maybe, it might draw things out, but you're still going to get to where you want it to be. There's no risk of letting the fruit hang for a few extra weeks because it's picked so early that you have that luxury.
Go get it whenever the heck you want.
Exactly. So that's really nice and plays in our favor too.
Last question, then we'll let you go. I know you're busy. Thank you for coming out today. Moving forward, what do you guys have planned with regards to Napa moving forward? Like any changes in vineyards, any changes in how you adapt or how you know what I mean? Like, what's because all these changes we talked about, there was all these changes taking place. So moving forward, you tell folks at home, like, what are some of the, no secret plans, no like stealth, missile, plans, but like kind of what are you guys thinking moving forward with regards to how you handle the vineyards and the winery?
Yeah, I mean, the estate vineyard team is always, like I am, adapting to those changing, weather conditions and whatnot. So really looking at like, if we're going to redevelop a vineyard, kind of thinking a little bit more future down the line of, how do we need to set up irrigation, trellising systems, just adapting to maybe some warmer weather conditions. So there's a lot of that thought going into this decision making. But yeah, I mean, we're always launching some new little fun SKUs. So I have a Blanc de Blanc, a sparkling coming down the pipe. It's small. It's just going to be a couple hundred cases, but it's 100% Chard, mostly estate, and it's something that I haven't dabbled in before. So I've absolutely been loving the process. I'm super geeky.
Are you actually in there riddling? Are you?
I'm not doing the actual riddling. We have someone doing that for us, but it's just been such a cool process. I love white winemaking because it's just so hands-on and transparent, and you take with sparkling, you take it to a whole nother level. And it's weird. You're out there, and you're tasting the Chardonnay, and your brain's telling you it's too early, don't pick it, it's not ready, and you're looking at the acids going, yep, it's ready for sparkling.
Just right.
It's just right. So it requires like a different thinking hat, and I'm kind of been really enjoying that. So yeah, we have some fun little like new wines coming down the pipe. I'm making a Tokalon Cab, which is kind of cool. First vintage 22, so that's coming down the pipe in a little bit. And yes, just some little fun wines that we're kind of playing with. So Yeah, but
The Valley representing. Thank you so much for coming today.
you. Yeah, thanks
we
for
love
having
the
me.
wines, and
Thank you.
we've been,
Appreciate it.
I've been working personally with Duckhorn since the late '80s.
Awesome.
I remember,
Love that.
selling 86, 87 Duckhorn Cabernet. And again, what struck me again today, we do taste the wines regularly, but what struck me again today was the thread. And the fact that you've managed to keep this thread going in the context of everything happening around you is beyond commendable.
Thank you. Appreciate
Yeah,
that.
brilliant work.
Thank you so much.
You're awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're
Thank
welcome.
you. All right. Take care, everyone.